Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sabres Hockey Central Extra Live. Joining you right now, a few minutes before the NHL Draft Lottery takes place. Tense moments, for sure, throughout Buffalo. I almost at a loss of words at this point. There's a lot said, lot done, but at this point, it's really... It's already been decided. We're just waiting for it to happen now. So 5 minutes away from the 8 o'clock start time that is said to be for the draft lottery. Not sure how this is going to happen because usually they have an hour-long special where they break it down and they go team by team. But obviously tonight, as you may be able to check on your television, it says at 8 o'clock, it's NHL hockey, which would be the Rangers and Penguins, but the draft lottery results are going to be revealed shortly before that game. So we'll see what they decide to do with the draft lottery and how they're going to announce it. But I mean, if you've been sleeping under a rock, we'll go over it again for you real quick, starting from 14th going to 1st. 14th, the Boston Bruins have 1% chance of winning the lottery. Kings 13 have 2%. Dallas at 12, 2.5%. Panthers at 11 have 3%. Colorado Avalanche at 3.5%. 10th. 9th, the San Jose Sharks have a 5% chance of getting the first overall pick. 8th, Columbus Blue Jackets have a 6% chance. 7, Philadelphia Flyers at 6.5%. 6th, the New Jersey Devils at a 7.5%. 5, the Hurricanes at 8.5%. 4th, the Maple Leafs at 9.5%. The Edmonton Oilers are 3rd with 11.5% chance of winning the lottery. And 2nd, the Arizona Cardinals have a 13.5% chance. And obviously the Buffalo Sabres, who have already locked up 30th place, have a 20% chance of getting the first overall pick. Obviously, if they don't, they'll get the second overall pick. So no matter what, the Buffalo Sabres can look at tonight saying they have Jack Eichel already locked up with the possibility of a 20% chance of turning Jack Eichel into Connor McDavid, which, if you ask me, not a bad trade-off in the long run. But looking at things right now, as like I said, we're just getting ready to wait. We have a few guests potentially joining us here as the evening plays out. I know Jack Goods will be joining us shortly. Chris Downey from Sabres Hockey Central also should be joining us on the air. And really anybody else who decides to come through and wants to talk about either the Buffalo Sabres or the draft lottery. So while we're looking right now on Twitter, Twitter's going crazy right now. You can follow me on Twitter at WolfSHC. Oh man, the nerves have not really set in until right about now. I mean, for me personally, I'm obviously a fan first, but being a writer and being kind of being engulfed in this whole scenario, being down in the locker room, seeing everything that's been happening for the entire season, you don't really get wrapped up in everything. But right now, it's hard not to get wrapped up because this is not only now, but it's going to be the next 10 or 15 years that's decided in the next 30 minutes. Are the Buffalo Sabres going to move forward in their quest for a Stanley Cup with Connor McDavid or with Jack Eichel? And that's really what we're at right now. And I don't mean to ramble on here at this point in time, but, it kind of is what it is. 2 minutes away from 8 o'clock. And I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, I know we're doing this kind of live, so it's not as legit as a normal podcast usually is. But I think we have Jack joining us right now, just waiting for him to kick over and start talking, and then we'll get to some questions for him. But like I said, I think we got him.
Can you hear me?
I got you, man.
Awesome. It said I wanted to make sure that my mic wasn't muted.
Joining us right now, as you may have heard him, Jack Goods at Goods on Sports on Twitter. Thank you for joining us on this.
I'm excited.
I was just saying before you got on here that the nerves had not really hit me until about 4 or 5 minutes ago. Once I started talking about it, I was like, oh man, this is going to be something else.
I got nervous like yesterday. I was listening to WGR, and then I just realized, like, I've the whole time I've been get to 30th, because then you have 100% chance, and then we're not in a point where we're nervous. But I watched the 30-minute documentary that NHL Network did on Connor McDavid, and that was just probably not a good idea for me.
I was driving my car. I wasn't going to tell anybody this, but I was driving my car today, and like the thought crossed my mind of the Sabres getting Connor McDavid, and I legitimately got chills down my spine.
And at this point, I'm like, oh, go ahead.
I was sorry. I was sitting there, and when that happened, I was like, this doesn't happen to me, because as I was mentioning before you jumped on the air, I'm obviously a fan first, but I've been engulfed so much on the media side of things for the past couple of years that I kind of separate myself. So I know I still, like, tonight, yeah, I'm a fan, I'm excited, but I still have a job to do. So I'm kind of like, when that happens to me, I'm like, oh man, this is something else.
I feel like this is something that it kind of just blur the lines between fans and media, because I feel like the media should be just as excited as the fans are to cover someone like this. The Sabres haven't had a guy like this in decades. You might have to look back to Perreault to have a guy who was this good at the forward position. Obviously, Hasek is the name that everyone will think of, but it's different.
I mean, just thinking about, I mean, no matter what, tonight the Buffalo Sabres, I guess you could say their quest for a number one center is over after tonight, because I know the past couple, for the longest time it was they wanted to get tougher, whatever, and then all of a sudden it was we need a number one center, and now they got Sam Reinhart last year, but from what I gather, judging by the game last night in Rochester, plus the comments after the game, it sounds like the Buffalo Sabres are going to try to turn Sam Reinhart into their top right winger, which is, there's not a problem with that at all. But I mean, you tell me this right now. You've got Evander Kane on your top left wing. Your top center is McDavid or Eichel. Your top right wing is Sam Reinhart. I need to step out and take a break for a second, because I can't handle that.
Oh yeah, and then that's not it. I mean, you still got Ennis, who has looked great this year, and then you still have Suvorov and
if you think about it, sorry to cut you off, but if you think about it, first line you could have like Kane, Mick Top Pick is what I've been calling it, and Reinhart, and then your second line could be Molson, Jurgensens, and Ennis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know we're shooting at a wall right now, hoping that it'll stick, but
and that's without adding anyone.
Yeah, it's like, this is real life right now. This is actually happening. It's Saturday night. It's April 18th. It's 8:02 p.m. Eastern time. Because I don't know, are you Central time?
Yeah, I'm Central.
That's what I figured. So it's 8:02 Eastern time. The lottery's over. Like they already know who's going to pick where. The envelopes are determined and everything. But I don't know if you can tell. I'm kind of shaking. I'm chattering. This barely ever happens to me.
What do you think about the whole system, the way that they present this here? I think it's very strange, because it could be the drama of it. Say the Kings win, you're going to know within the first two cards they show, and then the rest is just a formality.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to show numbers, or if they're just going to. I like what they usually do, where they say, okay, 14 is this team, that team, that team, that team. So when they get to like 7, and they don't pull out like. They pull out a different card than the number 7 card that's supposed to be there. You're like, oh man, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think next year, this is obviously the last year where you can tank, quote unquote tank, and get the number 1 or number 2 overall pick, because next year, obviously the top 3 picks are going to be chosen by a lottery.
Mm-hmm.
So anything could happen next year. So that's why, you know what? I'm glad this is the last year it's happening, because I can't do this much longer. Like, if the Sabres are bad next year and they're in the lottery, which they might end up being in the lottery, it'll be fun, because we're like right now as Sabres fans, I don't know about you, but we're banking on we were banking on a McDavid or an Eichel. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres were not but the Buffalo Sabres were banking on a McDavid or Eichel. And now that we're there, it's like, okay, move forward. Let's start to have some fun.
Yeah, and with the way they're changing it next year, you could also look at it almost as as a positive for the Sabres because I do think that they will improve. They may end up having a better chance of getting a top 3 pick than they would have if they didn't change it. Maybe
it's going to be very exciting.
The right point. And
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad that the draft simulator silly season is over after tonight.
What did you think of the? It seemed like it was a draft simulator party at 716 tonight. Apparently,
I can't tell you how many times I've had photos of when first it was the draft simulator where Rob, I can't remember his last name, but Rob had a website and you could just hit a button and it would automatically set the lineup for you, and it would say like, oh, Boston wins, Toronto wins, Los Angeles wins, Buffalo wins. And then once we got the numbers out, it was a number simulator.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just started seeing pictures of draft lottery ball numbers on my computer screen. And like Friday at work, or yesterday at work, I should say, I was at the point where I wanted to pull my hair out because I'm like, can it be Saturday at 8:00? I want to get this over with. I want to just, good or bad, for better or for worse, I'm ready to move on. Like after the last game, I was ready to move on. You know, I was saying on Twitter, again, at Wolf SHC on the tweets, I was saying on Twitter, that game was the last game of the tank, quote unquote tank era, because they have to start winning at some point in time or getting better. And tonight is the first night of what is expected to be a very, 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 very busy and very exciting offseason for the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, they're set up now, and then this is the final piece that they needed. Even if they didn't have this piece, they'd probably be pretty good. But this is the thing that puts the Sabres over the edge. This is the thing that makes them competitive for the next
absolutely
10 years.
And then you look at that second first round pick that they have, and you think about it to yourself. I mean, you look at a guy like Cam Talbot or Martin Jones. You could have one of those guys for a first round pick in a package, maybe. So. We'll see
the goalies you can find anywhere. I'm a strong believer of that you don't have to find the best goalie. As long as you find one that is the league average, they will be fine. They're not going to have Andre Benoit and Andre Mazzaros back there that they have to worry about.
All right, sorry if I get quiet here. Right now they are Strombo is on our TV interviewing top prospects right now. Connor McDavid.
Like Strom's out there. Strom, Hannafin, McDavid.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't have just McDavid out there. That could have been kind of awkward.
I'm just very, 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 very excited. And our friends over at Die by the Blade, and you're a contributor over at Die by the Blade, correct?
Yep. It's predominantly where I am.
I probably should have done my research. I thought I did. But I'm all sorts of messed up. I had some pizza before the podcast, which was that kind of got me hyped up, and then 8:00 rolled around and I got more hyped up. So I'm just like ready to bounce off the walls over here.
Dylan Strom's mustache is that's not the best thing about tonight.
I thought that was a cut on his face. It looked like he had some cuts on his face.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. I hope that's what it is.
Our friends over at Die by the Blade, and obviously your coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very good tweet. I just retweeted it. 80% chance that the Buffalo Sabres win, 20% chance the Sabres really win. I mean, that's the truth, because I feel like for so long throughout this entire process, a lot of people have been saying it's McDavid or bust, and it was for the most part. But once people started doing more research on Eichel and watching Eichel and saying, this kid is not so bad. And there's a lot of stuff coming out now that's saying, in 5-10 years, the gap between Eichel and McDavid may be moot. There may be no gap, and McDavid or Eichel might even be better than McDavid. We don't know, but it's to get a guy in Buffalo that they're saying is as good as Sidney Crosby was, and maybe end up better than Sidney Crosby. I think I could handle that.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to not feel a little greedy, though. I mean, you're getting one of them, but you want the better one. I mean, everybody wants the better one.
Absolutely.
And it's he's the guy, he's the big face. But if it's Eichel, then I think from here on out, people will be like, okay, that's who the Sabres have. It's all Eichel now, and I think that it certainly won't feel like the end of the world. It'll be interesting to see how people react. Everyone's saying that they're all cool about it, but when it actually happens, people might still kind of freak out. Certainly on Twitter.
Bill Daly is on our television now. And
Yeah, I'm
I
guessing
feel like I'm live. Oh, here come the envelopes. Oh goodness, here we go.
Oh man.
I also wanted to tape this too because I really want to have this reaction forever between you and myself.
Oh yeah. I mean, this could be the biggest moment in one of the biggest moments in the franchise's history.
Absolutely. I mean, it's if they win this, it'll be the third time in history they've drafted number one overall. Obviously, Perot and I just went completely blank there.
Turgeron?
Yeah, Turgeron. I see. The thing is, I already wrote an article about it. I wrote one article about number one article about number two. I know how to be prepared. But yeah, it'll be if they get number one, it'll be McDavid with Perot and Turgeron, which good company. But if they get Eichel, it's going to be the second time, second years, obviously Reinhart and Eichel, which is also not a very bad combination to have.
Oh man! And
here we go. Gold card behind the logo, obviously.
Yeah. They're going to draw this out, but man.
14. Oh, goodness. Boston, 14.
Okay.
Boston Bruins retain 14th.
So that's
okay. They're confused. They're confusing me because they're sitting here telling me they're going to say the team, and they're going to show the card. Kings are 13th.
Okay, so that's still the same.
I'm nervous about Toronto, man.
I am too. I don't believe I would not be happy if Toronto wins like some other people would. I don't want them to be good.
Stars retain 12th.
Okay.
Florida Panthers are 11th. Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, we're good through 4.
Panthers select 11th.
Okay.
10 teams left.
I'm glad it's not Boston.
Yeah, me too. Colorado 10th. 1 in 9 chance for Connor McDavid.
Yeah. I always seem to get San Jose when I run the simulator. Way more than I feel like I should.
Watch your mouth. San Jose Sharks, 1 in 8 chance, my friends. 1 in 8.
Wow.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Going well so far.
Oh, come on.
Neat.
Columbus. Come on, Columbus. Columbus, 1 in 7. 1 in 7, my friends.
We're halfway there.
Goodness. I need a swig of my water. I'm about to pass out.
Oh. Okay, Philly.
Philly gets 7th. 1 in 6.
Oh.
Oh
Gosh.
I apologize for yelling.
Oh. I really not like New Jersey. These next 3 are tough.
I know. 1 in 5, my friends. We're getting close. This is the greatest moment of my life. Greatest moment of my life.
Oh man.
Don't give it to Toronto.
Yeah. Okay, so Carolina.
He's acting weird. He knows. Uh-oh. Swerve.
Oh, it's sticking.
Oh, here we go. Is it gonna happen?
Nope. Oh, Toronto.
1 in 4. Is it gonna happen?
Wow. Oh my God. It's been 3 years in a row that number 2 has gotten it. We're due for 1.
Just no Toronto.
Toronto, come on.
Yes! Toronto's not getting McDavid. Here we go.
We're down to 3.
McDavid's either going to be in the Western Conference or McDavid's going to be in Buffalo.
Oh, man, that's perfect.
Oh, my God. Don't be Edmonton.
Okay, come on. What? Oh.
You have got to be kidding me.
Again. It's just not fair.
That's garbage.
It's just I don't know what to say.
Well,
Wow,
that sucks.
that really sucks. Oh,
Damn it, man.
so close.
And he looks so excited to be going to Edmonton.
Wow, man, it was close. We got down there to the end.
I'm so sad about that, though.
Edmonton doesn't deserve it after all these picks.
You know, it's one of those situations where it's kind of just a crapshoot. But you know what?
Oh man,
I'll tell you what. Edmonton's going to win a couple Stanley Cups if they get some competent general managing. But guess what? They probably won't. Also, a real quick thing to point out is that there will probably be a forced rivalry from the National Hockey League now that Buffalo is getting Jack Eichel and Edmonton is getting Connor McDavid. So, I mean, maybe I don't know. What do Edmonton's lines look like now? Like they've got Nugent Hopkins, they've got McDavid, they've got I don't even know.
You know, it's
I need to take a picture or something.
They still don't have the defenseman. You know, it's and Darnell Nurse.
They have a lot of kids in the system, but none of them are ready.
No, man. Oh wow, it feels weird.
You know what? I'm happy. I'm happy that he's not going to Toronto. I'm happy he's not in the Eastern Conference. You know what though? Call me crazy, but Edmonton needs defensemen.
I don't know.
Buffalo has defensemen.
I can't see them doing it.
I can't see anybody trading the first overall pick, but I mean, you have Taylor Hall, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, and Connor McDavid, your top three centers. You need centers to win in the NHL, and they've got three of the best. So, you know what the best part about this is, though? Darcy Regier is not getting Jack Eichel or Connor McDavid.
Yeah. And, oh, man. Oh. It's just – he doesn't look happy.
Oh, he's not happy at all. I'm quite confident of that one. I guarantee you I know where McDavid wanted to go.
He wanted to go to Toronto.
I don't know. I think he was pretty set to come to Buffalo. Then again, you look at Jack Eichel, who Jack Eichel's been ready to come to Buffalo since before the All-American Prospects game. So again, a recap real quick. You think about it now, for the second time in second years, the Buffalo Sabres will draft second overall. The next piece to the puzzle, a young Jack Eichel, center, Boston University, the Hobey Baker Award for the best hockey player in college sports. Only the second freshman to win the award since Paul Kariya. And goodness gracious, he's a Buffalo Sabre, or going to be a Buffalo Sabre at least.
It makes it harder for people to pre-order jerseys since 97 wasn't taken and 9 is.
Well, he'll probably wear 15 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I'd guess too. It'd be 15. That's where he wore that a little bit with Team USA in the past. So that's what I guess. But I'm done with leaving things with the Sabres up to chance now. I think I'll wait until I know.
At this point, I mean, I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I have my microphone. I'm holding the microphone on my leg right now because I'm trying to get this article posted. Breaking the fourth wall. But I'm not mad. I mean, the Sabres had a 20% chance of getting Connor McDavid. They get Jack Eichel. I think we're going to be okay. Now, welcome to Buffalo, Jack Eichel, and the ridiculous expectations you're about to have.
Yeah. And I agree. I just read on Twitter, I think it might have been Jeremy White, and I agree with it, is that just there's no way that the league fixed this. There's no way they want it to be Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, because Edmonton's become such a tire fire of a franchise, and it's not because they don't have young talent. It's because they don't have competent management in place. Because the general manager is an idiot, and because they burn through head coaches, they change head coaches more than I change my clothes at this point. I mean, come on now. But they've got to do something. I mean, I don't think they're going to change the number one or trade the number one overall pick. But I'll tell you what, I do think that you might see a deal somewhere for them to get just to get better defensively, because they've got a ton of scoring. Problem is they can't stop goals from going in.
I think if they do make a move, it's certainly not McDavid. It's probably
No.
I mean, I don't know if it's Hall. It might be Eberle.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you look at right now, you look at your centers. How are you gonna? You can't justify to me that one of the three of McDavid, Taylor Hall, or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to be playing on the third line.
I think Nugent-Hopkins might be the most likely to move.
Well, I saw a few rumors during the season that Hall might be interested, or they might be interested in moving Hall, but then he got hurt and that quieted down real quick. So we'll see what happens. But
we thought Derek Roy saved us, but I guess not.
Well, it's funny to point out that the team that is putting the Erie Otters into bankruptcy, or the people that are putting the Erie Otters into bankruptcy, are the people that are going to end up with Connor McDavid.
Yeah. It is kind of funny.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I'm now that I'm over the initial shock of the situation, I am quite pleased with the result.
I mean, it's better than it could have been. You know, if I had to list, I think there were certain types of teams that he could go to, and there were obviously number one is the Sabres, but then I think my number two choice would be out west, so that he's at least away from them. And then there's do you want to go to an irrelevant place like Florida, like Arizona, like Carolina? Do you want him to go to like a rival like Toronto or Boston? And I think you got the best thing if it wasn't the Sabres.
And that's one thing too that I look at is you mentioned well, McDavid would probably want to go to Toronto, but there's been a lot of stuff. Like I ended up actually the reason I started falling in love with Jack Eichel was because deadline day actually. Myself and Brayton Wilson, another writer at Sabres Hockey Central, the normal co-host of the podcast, but he would have been here tonight, but unfortunately he's working, and working takes precedent over everything. But anyways, we ended up running into a Boston University head coach, or not a head coach, an assistant coach, and he was out there scouting kids and for BU. So we sat there and we started talking to him about Eichel and about their goaltender, and it got to the point where he flat out said, Matt O'Connor is a Toronto boy, but he doesn't want to play in Toronto because that market is toxic. I mean, and that's in one of the greatest markets in the history of hockey, Toronto, the hockey market, if you will. And people don't want to go there because it's ridiculous. It's horrible.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point when it comes to Toronto, is that, that's why I don't think that Babcock is going to end up there. It's because it doesn't seem like a great place to be. There's this history, but the history just creates more pressure.
There's a lot of work that has to be done for sure.
Yeah. And that, man, now you got McDavid with Edmonton, you get Gretzky, and now you get McDavid. That's going to be talked about a lot.
How nice is that one?
Yeah. But Jack Eichel,
here's something else that will never happen. But how funny would it be if Craig McTavish traded down to pick a defenseman? It won't happen. But Noah Hannafin's really good at hockey. It won't happen. That's the
funny thing about all this. Of all the teams, Edmonton was the one who was looking the best if they were picking three.
Yeah, they don't they don't really. I mean, you can never not have enough goal scorers. That's for sure. Yeah. But you think about it, their problem is they can't stop the goals from going in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very strange after all of this time, knowing how it's going to go now.
It's very refreshing. Like I was talking to cheap plug. I actually was talking to Scott from Flickshires this morning when we set up the giveaway over on Sabres Hockey Central, and we both agreed like this is tonight is a fever pitch. 8:00 on April 18th, 2015. We've reached a fever pitch because from this point on, we know what's going to happen. We know who the Sabres are getting. We know how it's going to work out and all that stuff. But before, everyone's speculating, doing the draft simulators, the lottery ball simulator, talking, making up their tinfoil hat theories and all that stuff. And it's we know where this is all going now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you look at now everyone will discuss what Arizona will do with 3.
You know what? And they might even be able to trade out of that. I don't think they will again, but
I think they probably take Hannafin, but they do have Ekman Larson already.
Yeah, but look at the Sabres, for instance. You can never have enough good young defensemen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Toronto will end up with Strome or Marner, or it's weird now that it's done. We know
it's awkward. I feel like I need to go take a shower now or something.
Yeah, Connor McDavid's going to be an Edmonton Oiler.
Allegedly. I mean, I'm sure that he doesn't look too excited. That's for sure. But maybe we'll get a one of those situations where, like Phil Rivers and Eli Manning. Phil Rivers says, "You can draft me, but I'm not playing for you."
Yeah, I would be surprised to see that from McDavid.
It doesn't happen in hockey.
It doesn't seem like him either. I think the last time you'd see it in hockey would be like Eric Lindros.
Yeah. So I mean, right now you think about it though. Actually, I'm just gonna keep talking here really quick, and I'm gonna try to get a roster pulled up really quick. This is the perks of live podcasting, my friends. Is that we just do things how we feel like it, whenever we feel like it. I'm actually gonna see if anybody wants to talk. Come join us because I think we can get like 10 people at one time.
That'll be great.
Tim Murray said he's disappointed for the Sabres fans. But whatever. Like I'm not mad about Jack Eichel.
No, he's got my name, so I'm gonna like him already.
There you go. That's a good way to look at it.
But the way I looked at, I mean, I still do look at a lot of this as a fan. Like, well, this is the jersey. This is the next jersey everyone should get. Either way, you're going to see Eichel jerseys everywhere.
Tim Murray said, sorry to cut you off, Jack, but Tim Murray says, quote, "It would be fine with me if they just had phoned me and said we lost the lottery."
Yeah.
He is not very happy. Oh, I love Tim Murray so much. And you know what? I'm sure he'll give a call and try to offer something, but the Buffalo Sabres, like the thing about it lately is if you've mentioned or if you've noticed throughout is that the Sabres have openly started gushing over Jack Eichel. And I mean, there's nothing. The kid is going to be here's the deal. Here's the cool part, my friends. Everybody listening and that listens after we recorded this. The cool part about Jack Eichel coming to Buffalo is for the next 15 years, this kid, 15 to 20 years, this kid is going to be the face of American hockey. Like when the Olympics show up, remember Ryan Miller and go for the Olympics? Imagine Jack Eichel being on the top line of the Olympic team, bringing the Olympic team back to glory. I mean, that's going to be fun.
If the NHL has anything to say about it, though, it'll be bringing the USA to the Hockey World Cup championship. And we'll have
whatever, something. Yes,
we'll have college players playing in the Olympics again because of the NHL.
I hope they don't do that because I really like the Olympics, but
I love the Olympics. That is a great point though when it comes to USA Hockey. I mean, either way, we're gonna have one. There's gonna be a rivalry now, and it is a little bit interesting that you'll have McDavid, who's probably going to be the captain of Team Canada. He's going to be playing in a Canadian city, and don't forget the USA playing in the US.
And don't forget, Sam Reinhart will also probably be on Team Canada as well.
Mm-hmm. It would have been nice to have both of them, but
Well, yeah, because I was actually, I'll be honest, and please don't take away my citizenship here, but I had mentioned to a couple people that if McDavid was a Sabre, I might have to root for Team Canada in the Olympics or World Championships because the guys are Sabres. I mean,
I did it in juniors for Reinhart.
And why not?
Yeah, Sabres want to see them as long as possible. You want to get a good look at them, and you want them to succeed. You like the players. they're your guys. So
hey, also real quick, something I want to point out is that I don't want to see people sitting here saying that they are Sabres fans telling me that the draft was rigged because it's basic math. You have 1/5 chance of an Aaron Ekblad or a Connor McDavid. Like, yeah, let's get really mad about the fact that the Sabres don't get Aaron Ekblad and don't get Connor McDavid. But hey, guess what? They got Sam Reinhart and Jack Eichel. And that's a lot of talented young hockey player right there. And I'm assuming now, because here's the deal too. This shifts so many things. Are the Buffalo Sabres able to make a legitimate run at Mike Babcock? Because obviously the rumors coming out of Detroit where Babcock wanted to coach McDavid and coach a Sabres team with McDavid. But if McDavid's not there, does that change things? I mean, granted, but let me just throw this out there. I believe in my heart of hearts, just going off of what I've learned from throughout the years, is that coaches use leverage very well. And if Babcock is sitting there saying, well, hey, I can go to Buffalo and become the highest paid coach in the league and coach these talented kids, you can give me a few more dollars for give me a few more bucks a season and I'll stay in Detroit. Because obviously Detroit compared to Buffalo, yes, Detroit's good now, but the future looks very bleak for Detroit. Without Zetterberg, without Datsuk, without guys like that, with Johan Franzen, I apologize. They're not going to be a very good hockey team for a little while because they've kind of hit the end. I mean, it's been a hell of a run, 20-some year run, but they're coming towards the end of that run where they just didn't hit the refresh button while they were doing it. They just kind of were like, well, we're just going to keep going with what we have and hope it works out. And it didn't work out.
I suppose. I think with Babcock, it's looking at Detroit, and even with those guys now, they're good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not really good enough to go very far, in my opinion. I see Tampa Bay winning this series, and I think it's just kind of him being able to look and see the future, that there's the team that finishes 30th isn't necessarily the one in the best position. In fact, I think the Sabres are in a better position than a majority of the teams in the NHL still.
Well, if you look at oh, sorry, you go.
No, that's all. I was just throwing that on there at the end. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just checked my phone for the first time in 45 minutes.
Just full of texts.
Yeah, like friends texting me. I obviously I podcast over at the Gear Network, and I obviously do my sports show, Better Alive Than Dead. So the guy the gentleman who owns the network, texted me and said, "What do you think about the draft lottery?" And I was like, "Well, you're going to have to wait because I'm breaking it down right now."
Yeah. At the end of the day, I really don't like the lottery. I really don't like the way they're moving with it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for next year when it's going to be a legitimate lottery. Like the top 3 picks are going to be determined by a lottery, which is fun. Like basketball, kind of how basketball does it. I like that.
Yeah.
But again, do not forget that this is going to be a very, very exciting offseason. The Buffalo Sabres have to somehow find an upgrade at right wing because going into Going into the season now, I believe. I mean, Tyler Ennis is a right winger at this point, but do you want him to be your number one right winger? Maybe. I mean, maybe this year he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. But you need depth there because your second right winger is Brian Gianta, and he's not playing on the second line next year.
No.
And you're probably not going to bring back a guy like Drew Stafford because I'm assuming the other wrinkle, there's a lot of wrinkles in this offseason because once we find out the salary cap for next season, the salary cap ceiling for next season, we'll find out what teams are up against it. So the Sabres may be able to go out and purge a very good right winger off of another roster. Because right now your top left wing is Evander Kane. Your second left wing is going to be Matt Molson. Your third will probably be Marcus Foligno at this point. So you look at it, and that's kind of filled up. The center position is full, depending on where you put them, but you're going to have Reinhart. Well, Reinhart, like I said, is probably your right winger at this point. They're going to work on that one, but you're going to have Girgensons. You're going to have Eichel. You're going to have Grigorenko. Maybe Tim Schaller will be your fourth line center to start the season with a little bit of Cody McCormick, depending on the matchup, or just straight up Cody McCormick. I don't know yet, but we'll figure that one out. But right wing seems to be a point of contention for the Buffalo Sabres. They don't have a lot of scoring talent on the right wing. Excuse me. So it'll be interesting to see how that one works out. I mean, if you're going to put Ennis around even Girgensons, Ennis, and Kane, Ennis can score 30 goals. I mean, if you put him around Eichel, probably can score a lot. So you just, if you improve the talent around him, he'll be better. On two bad teams, two of the worst Sabres teams in history, and like Sabres history, obviously. This was the worst back-to-back stretch the Sabres have ever had. And has scored over 40 goals in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot, but, it's something. It's something to look forward to. And then you look on the defensive side of things. Do they go back and pick up veteran defensemen, good veteran defensemen now because they're not just looking to fill cap space? Or do the Buffalo Sabres say, we're going to go with Pesek, we're going to go with Ryan or Ristolainen and Zadorov playing big minutes, Bogosian playing big minutes, Pesek playing a big role? Or do they say, Pesek, you're going to start in Rochester with McCabe, and we'll see how that goes? And then obviously, as I mentioned, the goaltending situation with Chad Johnson is going to be the backup goaltender next year. When Chad Johnson came in, they had mentioned that the analytics were off the map. He's a very good analytical or a goaltender analytically. The stats on paper may not be so good, but the way that they break down the players, it looks really good. Obviously, he got hurt last year before he could play, but with him being under contract, it does sound like he's going to be the backup goaltender. And then, as I mentioned before the draft lottery started, you might be able to get a guy like a Martin Jones or a Cam Talbot. They keep popping up, an essential 1A, 1B type of guy who is just looking for an opportunity. I mean, obviously, the Rangers are a lot better team than the Sabres are, but when Cam Talbot stepped in for Henrik Lundqvist, he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, I think that Niemi's another name that I'd throw in there too, as being a guy. But that's more of a guy that if you think you want to win now.
Well, I think it's a possibility for sure, but the thing about Antti Niemi is, and I talked to Joe Yerdon from NHL.com about this one a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Niemi is always an option because he's going to be a free agent. So, I mean, free agents are fair game for anybody, but it just does not seem like – it doesn't seem as if that is the way Tim Murray does things. Like, to this point, he hasn't done that. He hasn't gone out and spent money on a big-time guy to fill a hole. They've been smart about it. Real quick, I just want to point out Chris Johnston has tweeted, there are a lot of upset NHL executives tonight after seeing the Oilers get another number one pick. Wonder if the system is examined again. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, they are changing it. I mean, but it would be, interesting. Maybe you switch it to, how you get taken out of it. Maybe if you've won it before, but that doesn't seem to make sense really either. It's just kind of lucky, and it's unfortunate for many.
It's a luck of the draw. I mean, it sucks when your team doesn't win it, but like a couple years ago, take us out of the equation. I don't care who wins the lottery. I'm there for the excitement. When you're in the heat of the moment, you're going to be like Tim Murray right now. Tim Murray's pissed off because he didn't win. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything if there's anything that we know about Tim Murray, he's a very fiery guy. He wants to win everything. He wants to get as much as he possibly can. And he's like he said, you know what? We were second. We could have got first. I wanted first. I don't care that we're second. But in a couple weeks from now, or at the draft, he'll be very, 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 very happy that he has Jack Eichel.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna feel like I knew it would feel kind of weird today, but in a few days, in a few months, you get to the draft, people will embrace Jack Eichel.
I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah, and see those Oilers '97 jerseys flying off the shelf soon. Oh man, and I wonder.
Greg Wyshynski with a funny tweet. Connor McDavid will be a Ranger by the time he's 30. That's a silver lining.
I wonder if he leaves. I do. If he's not happy with being in Edmonton, I'm sure they're going to get good. I mean, Edmonton is not going to stay bad with this amount of talent for long. But if they aren't good, or if he just doesn't like it there, if he doesn't sign an RFA,
at what point in time though do you think that someone in Edmonton pulls a shoot and says, "What the hell are we doing here?"
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Buffalo, for instance. I mean, Buffalo is not the perfect franchise in any stretch of the imagination, but you think about it. I mean, they've got good young defensemen ready to step in. They've got, like I said, sorry, I just blanked out there for a second. They've got good young defensemen. They've got good young scoring. I mean, they picked up Evander Kane in a trade. They turned assets into better assets. I mean, they're kind of doing it right. And if you think about it, not next year. I don't think next year they're going to be contending. I think next year they'll be, I would say, I think next year the best case scenario for next year would probably be, I want to say, 8th to 10th. Like if they get close to the playoffs next year, that's a win. But you have to start somewhere. I mean, because obviously at some point in time, Tim Murray's leash is going to get short, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while because the way he has built this thing up, he's got himself some leeway for sure.
And I'm looking at these pictures of McDavid on Twitter, and it looks like he's about to cry. It really does.
Yeah, he doesn't look very happy. Like I said, I don't think that he was necessarily planning on going to Buffalo, but you kind of fall in love with an idea of, hey, I'm the number one pick in the draft. I'm going to end up in Buffalo because they're the worst team, and that's just how things work out. But things always don't work out the way you want them to. And again, I don't want the Sabres to trade for McDavid. Call me crazy because, and this is developing. I'm sure if you listen to the podcast as it's happening, you probably think I'm crazy, or if you listen back to it, you'll probably think I'm nuts. But the more I think about it, the more, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. The Sabres don't get Connor McDavid, boo-hoo. They get Jack Eichel. He's going to be a damn good hockey player. I saw somewhere on Twitter, I can't remember the name of what I saw, but a draft guy that I follow on Twitter, and I'm trying to find his name right here really quick before I throw this out there. So I'll just keep talking about I'll just keep rambling on until I get there. It's one thing I hate about Twitter is I don't want to sit here and be like, well, yeah, this is so-and-so, and then not credit it because I'll feel terrible. But my computer naturally is loading really slow. Goodness. Okay, Steve. I think it's Steve Kournianos. Mm-hmm. Kournianos at the Draft Analyst on Twitter. He says, NHL mock draft, Buffalo takes Eichel, dominant two-way center. He wanted to go there. Likely done at BU. The best United States center prospect since Pat LaFontaine.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what you're getting.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah. And I agree with you that I don't want them to trade to one now. There's no need to give up Ristolainen or Reinhart or any other
You
pieces.
gotta figure. Like, sorry to cut you off. I apologize,
No.
but I want to ask you, like, what would you think it would take? Hypothetically, because obviously you and I are both no way, no how. But what would you think it would take?
It would take a lot. I'm not even sure Edmonton would do it, but you'd certainly need. I mean, you have the second overall pick there. You'd probably have Reinhardt, maybe Ristolainen too. You have to decide how big the gap really is, because I think whoever has the first overall pick believes the gap will believe, or at least negotiate in a way that it seems like the gap is bigger than what the person at 2 thinks it is. So
I think my best guess would be, I mean, because if you really want McDavid that bad, and I don't think the gap is that much, like, honestly, and I'm not saying this to sound homerish, because obviously now Eichel is going to soon be property of the Buffalo Sabres, but it'll probably take the 2 pick. It'll probably take a Reinhardt, a Zadorov, or a Ristolainen. It'll probably take another prospect, I would assume, probably a lower level like a Baptiste or a Bailey, and then probably another draft pick, probably another high draft pick, and that's nuts, because you got to figure Edmonton doesn't need to make a trade. So ask for the world. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, cool.
the Buffalo News just retweeted a guy in an Eichel Sabres jersey with the number 9. That guy's going to have a rough time. So close.
Yeah, like, come on now. Just
I never understood all of it. It's just like, wait, figure out. The people who are wearing the McDavid Sabres jerseys, they feel ridiculous now. And what are you gonna do with it?
That's what you get. I'm kind of glad that worked out that way, because there's a lot of people who are stupid, just plain old stupid.
They're a lot of money.
Well, yeah, maybe it's from my experience in the media of just realizing how dumb you actually are. You actually not are, but you seem.
Yeah.
But it's just come on, just really come on. I'm back to now tweeting things.
Yeah. Murray, you see all the pictures of Murray, he does not seem happy. But it's one of those things where at the moment you're upset a little bit. There's no way you can be still as happy as you would have been today, I'd say, as a Sabres fan. But it's not the end of the world. And it's not even a bad thing. It's a great thing. So it's just a little bit of, we've been worked up for this for a while. This has been what we've wanted. Thank goodness they finished 30th.
Yeah, you know what? If they had finished third, like if they had got the 3rd pick like Arizona did, it's.
I think Arizona.
Okay, so yeah, McTavish just spoke to the media and said there's no chance he entertains a trade offer, so it's going to be McDavid and Eichel, which is fine.
Yeah,
because again, you were going to get, imagine that first game that McDavid comes into Buffalo and plays against Jack Eichel at the First Niagara Center.
It's going to be fun.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I'm glad that it's not Toronto.
Oh, me too. Because you know what? Not only does Toronto annoy the crap out of me, but I could not handle that forced rivalry that they would make us have even more because of Eichel and McDavid. But these two teams are going to be linked for the next decade or decade and a half, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's going to be maybe they'll be meeting in cups someday.
I mean, Tim Murray said, I'm just reading here some tweets off the Twitter bots. Says, we all knew we'd likely get 2 and not 1. Said he would never hang up on someone if someone calls. Quote, it doesn't cost me anything to listen.
He always says that kind of stuff. That's kind of him.
He's a very intelligent man, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. You play your cards, you see what people will say, but I seriously doubt they'd move off of this, because the only way that you'd move is to 1.
Murray did nothing that anyone trying to trade up, but I don't think that I don't know. I just don't think that's going to happen, and I don't want it to happen, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think
whatever.
they're going to stay at 2. They're going to pick Jack Eichel, and we're going to move on. But it's just a very quick turnaround now from just imagining McDavid in that Sabres jersey, seeing it really, and now the odds are that never happens. He never will play for them. It's weird.
Maybe in 10 years when the Sabres are 8-time defending Stanley Cup champions,
Yeah,
McDavid will say, I want to go play there.
because I had heard rumblings that he really did want to stay close to Toronto. So that I think that's probably the thing that he's most bummed about. Maybe is that he's heading all the way across the country.
I mean, maybe he does. You know what? Maybe he does become a diva and says, I want to be traded to Buffalo or traded somewhere close to Toronto. Maybe. But that's why these next couple months are going to be fun.
Yeah. And, this is start, really. I mean, we're off now.
We're off. We're headed to the races at this point. Yeah. Be for the second time, like I said, second time in franchise history, back-to-back seasons. Buffalo Sabres draft second overall. Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel, ready to go, ready to make it happen.
And I think that there's no way Eichel is going back to school. I think that he'll be here next year. And
there was a lot of talk that he might go back to school, but I mean, this is something I probably should brush up on, but what was I doing? Why am I going to Sabres website? I don't know. I don't remember the rules on what makes college players eligible for the AHL.
Oh, he's eligible. The only limits for AHL is from Canadian juniors. So college guys can go right away. They just rarely do. There really doesn't seem to be a benefit, or at least teams have decided there isn't a benefit in sending these college kids to play at 18 in the AHL. I think if the Sabres were telling him he's going to go play in Rochester, he'd probably go back. I think that's the only situation. And I don't think the Sabres would want to do that. I think that they want him here.
I mean, and it's going to be tough, too, because once he signs that contract, he can't go back to school.
Yeah.
Because he's a professional. So it'll be – you know what? Even look at this. Even if the Buffalo Sabres, knock on wood, God forbid, even if the Buffalo Sabres are let me try to gather my thoughts here. Even if the Buffalo Sabres are going to be bad next year, okay? Sam Reinhart is eligible for the AHL. He's probably going to start in the AHL. Jack Eichel, eligible for the AHL. So you're telling me right now, if the Buffalo Sabres draft Jack Eichel and sign him to an entry-level deal and they don't play him in Buffalo, you're telling me 2/3 of the Amerks top line next season is going to be Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart. That's how you put butts in the seats. Not even to mention. You think about it.
I think I'd put Baptiste on the wing with them.
Well, you think about it. Tim Murray said this season he was going to spend the offseason making sure Rochester was a better place, more successful place for development, because obviously kids being bad in Rochester does not help their development very much. So maybe he goes out and they have a really good team, and then you have Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart in Rochester. Holy crap, that sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe you start seeing some of the other college guys come through soon. And
the Buffalo Sabres right now have a live ticker on their website. The draft is 68 days, 22 hours, 6 minutes, and 20 seconds away.
That's the weird part of all this now, is that it's a long wait. We know who we're going to get pretty much. Happen. Yeah, we know who we're going to get pretty much, and we just have to wait for him to actually be on the team. So, the Sabres have to they have to just kind of wait. I'm sure they want to promote him immediately. they probably love to do that, to have Eichel stuff everywhere.
Well, I'm sure they would. I mean, I'm just looking at the roster right now. Like, the amount of guys that are not going to be on this team next year is astounding. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You look at just going down the list. My computer is not cooperating. Jerry D'Amigo, Zach Dalby, Matt Ellis, Maybe Cody Hodgson. Maybe Cody McCormick, although he's under contract. I think he'll still be here. Phil Varone may not be here. Andre Benoit, Andre Mazzaros, Chad Ruedel, probably in Rochester. Tyson Strachan, Matt Hackett, Anders Lindback. There could be half, at least, of this roster that is turned over next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd expect it.
And why not?
Yeah, they no longer are trying to lose.
Exactly. They're not setting up. They're not setting like they never. I guess trying to lose was like, and I know what you mean, but I'm not trying to run you over here. But when people said this year the Sabres were trying to lose, they never tried to lose. They just set themselves up so they always had a worse team than the team they were facing.
Yeah. It was roster manipulation.
Exactly.
The players didn't try to lose.
There was just not enough talent there.
Yeah, the organization had not enough talent to win games, and they didn't have that much talent on purpose.
I mean, you look at it, and trading Jonas Enroth for Anders Lindback at the deadline was, I mean, that was that, that tells you that's roster manipulation at its finest. You put all your chips in the middle of the table and it worked out.
They're Neuwirth as well. Neuwirth is very successful, and you move him off for a guy who, they obviously didn't know he wasn't going to be able to play, but they set off for a guy who was not a very successful statistically backup goalie.
I'm gonna make a. Oh, you can finish. I'm sorry.
Oh no! I was there. He is signed through next year, but I still looked at that and thought, well, that's Neuwirth was being playing too well for them to keep him.
I'm reading through Twitter and going through stuff over at SabresHockeyCentral.com, and you know what? Like last year, the Sabres didn't really lose the lottery because they were probably going to draft Reinhart 1 or 2. They just got lucky, and Florida won the lottery.
Yep.
Instead of, because no matter what, they would have ended up with Reinhart. But this year it's the same situation. No matter what, you're better off with it's not like, I don't know. It's not like the guy that you want is not at 2, because the guy you want is at 2. The guy you want is at 1. The guy you want is at 2.
Yeah, they got lucky last year.
Exactly. The name I didn't mention last year or on the roster is that Pat Coletta also likely will not be back.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Cody Hodgson, the reason they would have to buy him out, they could buy him out this year, and the only reason it makes sense is because they would owe him roughly $6 million, which is not much in comparison to how much it would be next year and the year after that and after that. So, yeah, you think that you certainly I don't know, I just lost my train of thought. You look at that and I don't know. My brain just kind of melted down there for a second.
I think Coletta might be. I think Coletta's probably gone. I think Hodgson's probably gone. I think there's gonna be a lot of change.
And they have to decide on Hodgson soon. Because I don't know when the buyout period is, but it doesn't last long. I know that. No,
it doesn't, and it makes you. You start looking at this and makes you wonder why they bought out, why they used one of these buyouts on a guy like Gerby. They probably could have, saved.
Well, I believe Gerby was just a standard, a normal buyout.
Oh, was he normal buyout? I thought he was.
Yeah, which is funny. Funny you mentioned that because Ehrhoff and Leno were the compliance buyouts, which that's off the books at this point. But Gerby off the books after this season, I think
they've got so much room.
Gerby. With all the guys that are gone, but it's not going to be that hard.
Mm-hmm. They have so much room to play with. They've got so much cap. They're in a great situation. If people want to come here, I know that they do run into the issue that the crop of free agents isn't great. Like say you're talking about right wing, it's a lot of really old guys. Unless I would be okay with Justin Williams, but I don't know how much he has left.
Justin Williams might be like a third line guy on a Stanley Cup contender, like Los Angeles, like he was in Los Angeles. But
Do you need him when you have Gianta already? That's the
exactly. I mean, and the thing about Gianta is he's gonna start popping out next year a lot more, because he is going to be a very important guy for the Buffalo Sabres next year and the year after, because he's a big locker room presence. He always stands up there after every single game, talks to the media, takes the blame when it's necessary. And like after the season, last game of the year, he was in the locker room, talked for a good 7 to 8 minutes, and was very, very, very just straightforward and honest. And you don't see it now because it's an old guy on a young team that's getting paid a lot of money. But when they have a lot of young kids in this team, it's going to be important for a Gianta to be in that locker room to help lead that squad.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with having him there. I think that it's as the season went along, I became happier and happier with the signing for the Sabres. It seemed to be a really good one for this team. You know, Gianta does have that leadership ability. They're going to have a lot of these fun young guys, but you do need veterans still. And that's why it's good to have guys like Bogosian now, who is maybe not the oldest guy in the world, but he's been around, and have Georges on
this roster. He's pretty old.
Yeah. And then him with Georges is helpful when you might have Ristolainen, Zora, and Pysyk there next year. They can't keep Pysyk in Rochester anymore. He has to come up eventually.
He's really, really good. I mean, he missed a couple weeks, a little over a month. I think it was almost 2 months after he had passed out. They figured it was dehydration at this point, but they said Matthew Collar of WGR at Matthew WGR in the tweets said he was one of the best players on the ice that night, and he hadn't played in 2 months. Mm-hmm. Real quick before we continue on, it's 9:01 Eastern time, so we're going to reset this real quick. I am Ryan Wolf at Wolf SHC on Twitter, joined by Jack Goods at Goods on Sports on Twitter. This is Sabres Hockey Central Extra Podcast. We're talking the 2015 NHL Draft Lottery, won by the Edmonton Oilers. The Buffalo Sabres will pick second, most likely going to be Jack Eichel, forward, Boston University, the Hobey Baker Award winner. It's going to be a fun time here in Buffalo right now. We've got to wade through the crap a little because obviously people are mad about McDavid, but you know what? We're headed for some good times for sure, as we mentioned.
Eichel isn't saying much. They've got some quotes on him on Twitter because they did announce that he would be talking, and he's basically saying Buffalo will be a nice place to play if I go there. And McDavid's not saying much about Edmonton either. I'm guessing that they were told not really to talk all that much about specific places.
Eichel said he was not watching the draft lottery, whatever that's for. But as mentioned, the exact quote from Eichel was, "It's a great city. Buffalo is a great city." Apparently Mike Harrington is making an ass of himself tonight. What a surprise! Apparently Mike Harrington asked Connor McDavid, "Are you disappointed that you're not going to Buffalo?"
It's an interesting question. He won't answer it.
No, he'll never answer that question. Maybe if he ever becomes a free agent and the Sabres try to sign him, he might say, "Yeah, I was disappointed I was not a Sabre," but until then, that's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's now time, but it isn't necessarily time for the Sabres fans to embrace Eichel. It hasn't happened yet, but he's going to be a Buffalo Sabre. It seems like he's going to love playing here.
Absolutely.
And in many ways, I think a lot of people are going to like him more than they would have liked McDavid, which is odd because I do think that McDavid is going to be the better player. But Eichel is the blue-collar guy that a lot of people in Buffalo really like. They like that kind of play. So I think people are going to fall in love with him pretty fast because he's got the grit that people have liked from less talented players.
Well, as we mentioned, we all saw the video of Jack Eichel before the All-Star American Prospects or the American All-Star, whatever it was called. The Prospects game in Buffalo, where he said, "Buffalo, I'm coming for you."
Actually, that was actually later the video. I think it was taken after the Beanpot, I believe, this year.
That is not true, sir.
Really?
Remember I told you I talked to the Boston University guy.
Yeah.
He said, I want to make a point to you guys. He said, don't quote me on this one, so I'm not going to give his name out. But it was a guy in the know, obviously. He flat out said that was in the summer before the All-Star or the All-American Prospects game in Buffalo. That was not after the Bean Pod. I said, okay. He still said it. It doesn't matter what when it was said. Damn it, he said it.
So he said it while in Buffalo?
Before he came to Buffalo.
Okay. Huh. Well, that's kind of interesting then.
Hanifin says he's very comfortable at BC. Unsure he'll go pro next year. I think there's a good chance that Eichel does stay in school, but that good chance happens until the Sabres get their hands on him and talk to him and say, look, we want to sign you. We want to get you in here. We want you to play. I mean, too. Oh, here we go. Here's the quote. Mike Harrington just tweeted it. I was really happy at BU this season. There's no rush to go anywhere. I'm sure the decision will be made in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Apparently, Bills players are already tweeting at Eichel about Buffalo.
That's funny. And
I want to see some of these tweets. I want to see who
Hanifin, I bet, goes back because I bet that the Coyotes want him to go back.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
they want to be bad next year. They want Austin Matthews.
Yeah, they want. I mean, that next year, if that doesn't happen, that's an upset because remember, Gary Bettman saving the then Phoenix, now Arizona franchise. And why wouldn't they want? How would you save Phoenix hockey? I don't know, by giving them a lifelong Phoenix fan. Well, not giving them, but you know what I mean. A lifelong Phoenix fan ends up with the Coyotes.
Yeah, and it would be perfect. I don't know. I mean, I after today, there's no way I can believe in any fixes for this league.
No, because this was really the worst case scenario for. I think the Oilers winning was worst case scenario.
I'm sure they would have rather had the Sabres win. They would have rather had Arizona win. I think Arizona might have been one of the league's favorites to win, or Toronto, or Philly, or maybe Boston.
At 9:01 p.m. Sorry, 9:01 p.m. Aaron Williams of the Buffalo Bills at Jack Eichel at Jack_Eichel 11. I know we haven't gotten you yet, but you are sure going to love Buffalo, man. I promise you that.
Eichel's going to get some more followers today. That's for sure.
Just thinking about it right now, and I'm going to keep beating the drum on this one. Edmonton is going to trade somebody. Mm-hmm. So here's a question for you. I have a question for you now, Jack. Edmonton takes Connor McDavid. Buffalo takes Jack Eichel. How would you feel trading one of the better defensive prospects to Edmonton for one of their better offensive prospects or offensive players, maybe a package deal, to clear up some space, get more scoring in Buffalo? What would you think about that?
I think I'd be worried that they don't have enough depth at defense. I think I would have done that if they had kept Myers. But I mean, I like Bogosian. I don't think Bogosian is as good as Myers.
No, I think the overall game that Bogosian plays is better than Myers, though.
Yeah, but I think that Myers, if he's around good defensemen, is much better than he looked here. I think he's more like what he's looking like in Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
And if you lose, I mean, I wouldn't move Ristolainen. I would consider if it was Zadorov, or Piszak, but I think Ristolainen's pretty untouchable at this point. He's going to be their number one.
You have so many offensive prospects. I mean, I totally forgot Leon Draisaitl. Also, I mean, you have so much offensive talent. At some point in time, you have to go out and get defense and get goaltending.
Yeah. At some point, that's the reason I never really liked the anti-tanking argument of, well, you don't want to be like Edmonton, which is funny now, but you don't want to be like Edmonton because they're still bad after getting all these high picks. But it's not about just getting high picks. It's about having a balanced roster. And I think the Sabres are in a position right now that they have that. And
They knew that they recognized that there was a red flag at defense now and in the future. So they spent 2 first-round picks on defensemen, and look how that worked out. Yes, Nikita Zadorov has a problem showing up on time. He's a teenager.
mm-hmm.
He's going to get it, or he's going to get shipped out. And guess what? If Nikita Zadorov gets shipped out, they're going to get a lot for him because he's a talented kid. He just needs the right people around him to make sure he stays in line. And again, I think that, if they get I'm not necessarily sold on Dan Bylsma. I just don't have a good feeling about that.
I agree with you on that.
You get a Mike Babcock in, or even like Luke Richardson, because those are the 2 big names that have been rumored. Luke Richardson in Binghamton, which is a Tim Murray guy, or Mike Babcock, also a Tim Murray guy from Anaheim. It's you just have to get strong people in and around them and say, hey, look we're doing this for real. We're not messing around. We're going to make sure, you're a consummate professional. You're here on time. You're given 110% or 100%, whatever you want to say. And we're not, no dog in it, because they're in this all together at this point. I mean, there's no, at this point, and again, we said this last year, but we're serious now. Like last year, we're just, taking the piss out of the whole thing. But this year, there's nowhere to go but up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's that.
They're not going to be this bad again.
Hopefully not. I mean, if they are,
it would be miraculous. It would be miraculous with the roster that they put together if they were as bad as they were this year. It just really wouldn't make sense. You'd have to have Kane step back incredibly. I mean, and you have to have Ryder play, maybe.
You think about it too, that I just completely went blank again. What do you yeah, I just go to talk and I forget. Which is a rarity for me because I was born with the gift of gab. You look at guys like Grigorenko. He'll probably be back in Buffalo next year, but he has to be in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Or he goes through waivers or gets traded. So again, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces to the puzzle that we still have to figure out. Mm-hmm. Things are going to happen. Trades are going to be made. Signings are going to be made. Players are going to get drafted. I mean, that's what happens. But you have to sit back. You have to enjoy the process. Don't freak out. Like, that's the one thing until today at 7:55, I did not freak out. I enjoyed the process. I was ready to go. Just, whatever happens, happens. And, I mean, now it's, it is what it is. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it in the slightest. I'm ready to go. Let's make this happen. I'm ready for the offseason to happen. All that stuff. Let's go. Come on.
Now we're just in this position of waiting. We have to sit and watch the playoffs go on. Just thinking about a time when the Sabres will be back there. And it's been a bit, but I don't think it's going to be too much longer until they're back. I won't commit to next year.
Even if they win 10 more games next year, that's 20 more points. That's 70 points.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's well within their range.
That's fair. If they win 10 more games next season, which is it's like this year, the goal was finish last, or the goal with the fans was finish last. That's all. Don't matter how you do it, just do it. Mm-hmm. So always set your expectations fair. Mm-hmm. Like my expectations for next season are 10 more wins. Get to 70 points, 75 points, which if they bring in like a Mike Babcock or something, they may make like an Islanders jump where they go from drafting high to drafting low because they're in the playoffs. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's playoffs or bust next year because that's ridiculously crazy.
No, next year people will wonder, well, what's next year about? Because you're not going to. Odds are they're not going to make the playoffs. If they do, they're probably not making a playoff run. And you're not going for a bottom pick. Next year is about the guys that the Sabres have developing. It's about just naturally. If they're bad, it's because they're still working out the problems that you have going at a higher level than you have ever been at. It's not. They're not going to be trying to lose. There isn't even going to be roster manipulation. It's just going to be little silly mistakes, and that's just a natural part of this all.
Next season is going to be the best Sabres team we've seen in a handful of years.
Yeah, at least the most exciting.
That good. Well, yeah, they might not even be that good in hindsight, but compared to 50 or 60-point seasons, it's going to be nice.
Yeah, and it'll be nice having players on the team that are really a part of the future, because that's something they haven't had in a few years now.
Yeah, I mean, the last time they really had a strong core was the Miller, Vanek, Pominville, Roy era.
Mm-hmm. It felt obvious at this last deadline that this was it. This is the last they were shipping out of people, because there weren't any parts left. When the biggest players you're moving are guys like Torrey Mitchell, you don't have many guys that are left to get much for.
I'm just going back here really quick. Like, if you look at, and I know I'm running out of steam over here because my excitement levels have reached a peak, and I'm drained at this point. But
me too.
Just looking back at the past handful of drafts, I mean, just the first round picks, because I know like last year the Sabres nailed the draft, absolutely nailed the draft. But you look at 2012, you got Grigorenko and Girgensons. 13, Ristolainen and Zadorov. 14, you got Sam Reinhart. 15, you're at least getting Jack Eichel. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's quite the group. And
I mean, compared to 2005 when he drafted Marek Zagrapan, and 2006 when he drafted Dennis Persson. I don't even know how to say his name. Doesn't matter.
It's the part of the reason we got in this place was that the Sabres consistently drafted kind of in the middle, and they had a lot of guys that really didn't produce or didn't even make it, and now it's guys. Sabres are getting guys that we know are going to be good.
If there's anything you take from this podcast tonight, this interview with Jack, please trust me when I say this. There are office in Buffalo. There are
You there, Ryan?
all right.
I can kind of hear you. Ryan, you there?
I don't know what's going on. My internet just crapped out.
I can hear you now.
Oh, hey, I'm back now.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know. Did you lose me that whole?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that's me. My internet just stopped working.
It was like it was really it really got me excited. You're like the one thing you can take away is no cutout.
I had a feeling that happened.
I was like, we'll never know.
Yeah, let me reiterate what I was saying because as I was, it's perfect because as I was saying that, my internet access stopped working. I was actually talking to myself for 5 minutes. Hold on one second. I got to get this. Dave Sanford, phenomenal photographer. He usually photographs these Stanley Cup finals for the NHL. I've been looking for a photo. It's my favorite photo ever of the Stanley Cup. It's sitting up in bed with a blanket wrapped around it in a hotel room. And I've been trying to find it, and he just tweeted back at me, so I had to get him real quick. But sorry about that. I'm back here. I'm back live. What I wanted to say, the one thing you should take away from this conversation, this interview tonight, this just kind of just spontaneous thing that we're doing. Trust the process. Trust that GMTM is smart. He's a very smart amateur scout. He knows what he's doing. This franchise knows exactly what they're doing. That should be proven by what they've done the past 2 years. I mean, if anything, this man was playing with house money this season and somehow managed to turn that into Jack Eichel with a 20% chance of Connor McDavid. And if you're mad about that right now, let me tell you what a lot of scouts have said. The gap is not that big. In 5 to 10 years, they may be on the same plane. They may already be on the same plane. Just trust the process. Everything that is happening for a reason. It's not the Darcy Regier show anymore. It's Tim Murray at the helm. It's his people. There's going to be a head coach in here that's a Tim Murray guy real soon, whether it's Mike Babcock, whether it's Luke Richardson or someone else. And they're going to make sure this team is headed in the right direction. Because I'll tell you what, the next coach that comes in here is not going to be Ted Nolan. The next coach that comes in here is going to be a guy who either knows how to, or it's going to be a guy, one, who knows how to win, and two, who wants to win, who wants to be the guy in Buffalo that put a Stanley Cup banner up in the rafters at the First Niagara Center. Kind of like what Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills, you bring him in. He wants to be the guy that brings them back to the playoffs and brings them to that Super Bowl victory for the first time ever. The next head coach of the Buffalo Sabres is going to want to be. I'll tell you what, Tim Murray's done a damn good job setting them up.
Yeah, they're going to be relevant. Absolutely. Yeah, just like Rex Ryan did for the Bills. You know, he puts them in the spotlight and for really a good reason.
It's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of Jack Eichel games on TV. You know what the best part? My favorite part. One of my favorite parts about this whole thing. Can you take a wild guess, Jack? Who Jack Eichel's favorite team growing up was?
It was the Bruins, wasn't it?
The Boston Bruins. And take a wild guess if you've fallen asleep for a couple decades. One of the Buffalo Sabres' biggest rivals.
Well, it'd be the Bruins.
Boston Bruins. Going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Jack Eichel score goals on the Boston Bruins.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wondered what it was like for these guys when they grow up rooting for a team and they play for a team that is somewhat of a rival. You know, if McDavid did end up going to the Sabres, how would he feel playing Toronto all the time? You know, they had in the 30-minute special that I watched on him, they went into his room and his light in the center of his room is shaped like the Toronto Maple Leafs jumbotron. And then to go from that, now he's going to be playing for Edmonton. It's kind of weird.
It's kind of funny, actually.
And you forget that these guys are, if you love hockey that much, you're probably pretty passionate about your team growing up. I can't imagine just suddenly changing that. I'm sure that a lot of them just dream about playing for those teams at some point too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but we go back to that thing about Toronto being a terrible market right now because it is so toxic in Toronto.
Yeah, and sometimes just there is the hockey part of it does factor in, like, I'm sure Patrick Kane would have loved to play in Buffalo, but the opportunity to stick with Chicago for plenty more years is just too appealing to turn down. So, if Edmonton gets really good, I'm sure McDavid will be just fine.
I'm sure McDavid will be just fine either way. I mean, they're going to be a lot of fun to watch next year. Especially with getting a new arena, it's going to be a lot of fun for Edmonton and their fans. Maybe they'll be better next year. I don't know, but hockey's so much fun. Like, I'll tell you what, just a brief note of myself. I've been a Sabres fan since, I think a hockey fan since the year before the lockout. The year before the lockout, I went to my first Amherst game, saw Pominville, Roy, Vanek, Miller. They won like 6-2 or something, 6-3, something like that. And I was hooked. And then the next year was the lockout, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I got back into it, and ever since then, I've slowly but surely become a diehard hockey fan. And I don't know what it is about hockey, but like, I love baseball, I love football, I love other sports, but hockey, there's just something about hockey that just has me like in love with it. And I think that's just how hockey is.
I think you just really get to. I think the thing that I love about it so much is just how frequently they play. Is you really do get to know the team, like and it has more excitement than something, for me personally, than basketball or baseball. Though I do like both those sports, there's something different about hockey. It really is, and it's going to be exciting.
Baseball is my number one for sure, because they play all summer, and nothing better than watching the Red Sox play all year round. Yeah. My personal opinion. But when the winter rolls around, there's just it's like old reliable. Like, you have a car that you know everything about, and it's good. It's positives and negatives. You know exactly what it's going to do, and it's just that's hockey to me.
I'm 10.5 hours away, sitting here in Wisconsin, and I throw on NHL Game Center, watch MSG. I feel like I'm right at home.
That's awesome. That's a cool thing too about hockey. Like, and it's just a cool thing about sports in general is that they travel well.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
especially.
Or you can go.
Oh, I would say especially these days. You
Absolutely.
Can really anywhere you are.
I mean, I just mentioned I'm a Red Sox fan living in Western New York. I can watch all the games on my tablet at work or at home on my TV. We've got a friend who lives down in North Carolina who writes for Sabres Hockey Central, Chris Downey, big Sabres fan, obviously. One of my very good friends, she just got a job in Arkansas. She's going to be living down there, and she's a huge Buffalo sports fan. I mean, and that's the crazy thing too. The one thing I've learned over the years as I've gotten older, apparently you can go anywhere in the world, and you can meet a Buffalo sports fan.
Yeah, I see him around here. I saw one time I was walking on campus, and I just saw someone with a Ryan Miller jersey, and I was just very confused. It's like I found some guys from like the Buffalo Bills backers of Milwaukee. It's like you just kind of run into people. You wear enough Buffalo stuff that people notice.
I went to Fenway Park. I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember at this point. I think it was 2 years ago. And it was 2 years ago. Sorry. And I went to a bar in the stadium, the bleacher bar, and I walk in the bar, and the first thing I see downtown Boston in Fenway Park is a Jim Kelly jersey on the wall. And I said, I think we're in the right place. I sit down, come to find out the place inside Fenway Park, in the bleachers, like under the bleachers, is a Bills backers bar.
Wow.
Like that. And they had blue light, which I freaked out because come on, really? So yeah, they're everywhere. It's everywhere you go. Like, you don't think about it, but it's everywhere you go.
And I think that you'll start seeing now. You see, no matter where you go, there are fans of teams like the Penguins, like the Blackhawks, because they're fun to watch, and people, even if they don't have a connection to those cities, they just fall in love with the players. You're gonna see that more now with the Sabres too.
And it's nice, especially we've been through it. We've been through the ringer. We're ready to go. Bring it on.
The city of Buffalo deserves this. They really do.
I mean, they're not the one thing the drum I've been beating lately is the Buffalo Sabres organization is not owed anything, which is the truth. They're not owed anything. They've set themselves up to be a successful hockey franchise for a very long time. I mean, 5 years from now, who cares about, the scrubs that people fall in love with?
Mm-hmm.
Third liners, the blue collar third liners. But, right now that's our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in 5 years, our thing will be different. But we're enjoying the process. I mean, we are a part of this. We have lived this. I mean, I hate to say we are Buffalo, but that's really what it is. We've been through the good, we've been through the bad, we've been through the ugly. But now we get to I hate to go back to baseball because I'm gonna get slaughtered for this one, but like being a Red Sox fan,
Mm-hmm.
you take the highs with the lows and vice versa. Like, yeah, was it horrible when the Red Sox lost 69 games or won 69 games in a season? Absolutely. But the next year they won the World Series. It makes it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Being the worst team in hockey for 2 straight years is worth it to me if you're going to be good for the next 15 or 20.
Oh, yeah. These 2 seasons have not been fun, but it's been the thing that they had to do. And it's totally worth it. Absolutely worth it. And I think that's the main thing that we can take away from tonight. This was all worth it. The Sabres didn't get the number 1 guy, but they've got their guy. And he's going to be their guy for years to come.
It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And I'm just... My head wants to pop. I need to go. I think I'm going to go to the store and buy some beer. That sounds like a good idea. Good way to celebrate the evening.
Yeah, I think I'm getting ice cream or something tonight.
Sounds like a good idea. If I had ice cream, I would get sick. So I'll just go get beer.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a crazy night.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Because I am completely stumped at this point.
I think I am too. We've been talking about this all year, and now it's finally happened, and I just don't know what else to talk about it.
More specifically, we've been talking about this for an hour and a half now. So
yeah, we have.
We've said everything
for a thing that went a lot shorter than I thought it would.
It lasted 10 minutes. We've been talking for the other hour and 20.
I was convinced it would be a half an hour at least. They like stretching those things out.
I thought so too, because it always has been. It's always been like the first 10 picks go, and then they're like, "What do you think?"
Yeah,
and then 5 more, and then whatever.
Sportsnet's speedier than TSN, I guess.
The Oilers won the draft lottery with balls 5-14, 6-1.
Oh,
I don't know how close the Sabres were, but we'll probably find out shortly.
I don't know. Yeah, well, they'll have they'll post the video up soon, so we'll see what the odds were there. Let's see, let me see if the draft simulator shows what were the numbers?
5-14, 6-1.
Let's see. The Sabres have. It looks like they don't have many. Man, this will be hard to figure out, but there's so many numbers and they're not in the order that I was hoping they would be. I'm sure that we'll find out eventually.
I just had someone message me on Facebook saying the draft is rigged.
Oh no. Yeah, we'll have to deal with that for a couple days.
Absolutely. I don't. Shut up. Shut up.
No matter how it would have went, people are going to start saying that. It's not rigged.
Mike Harrington comes across saying, "I'm told the winning combination was 1-5-6-14. That was Arizona's combination 1-7-4. The Sabres' closest was 1-7-2, which was 1-5-6-12.
Okay, so they're 1 off, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough.
Or 2 off.
2 off. Well, yeah, 1 ball off. They have
Pete Jensen of NHL.com, who is a fantasy guy. Let me get this popped up really quick. He says, and I quote, to hashtag, as I said, quote unquote, to hashtag Sabres fans disappointed about the lottery, Evander Kane and Jack Eichel could play in the same line for your team soon.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting.
Yeah. That's the thing we got to take away from it. Yeah.
And again, I'm not mad about it.
No.
I mean, it sucks, yeah, but the Sabres went in. The Sabres went in with the intention of getting Aaron Ekblad, and I mean, I don't even know if they wanted Ekblad last year. So let's just put it this. Well, I'll put it this way. Excuse me. The Buffalo Sabres 2 years ago. You go from potentially having Aaron Ekblad and Connor McDavid to ending up with Sam Reinhart and Jack Eichel. Boo freaking who.
Yeah, not a bad consolation prize.
Like some Sabres fans are acting like the Buffalo Sabres don't get a good draft pick. Like, oh, hey, you have to draft last now because you didn't win the lottery.
Yeah, it's just not.
It's all part of the process, my friends.
Yeah, and all those people will be with a very different tone once they see Eichel start playing. I'm sure of that.
I can't wait for the camp.
Yeah, the rookie camp's gonna be a lot of fun. There might be another first round pick there too. If they don't trade it.
Yeah, I honestly think right now, just a hunch, that the Buffalo Sabres don't make that pick.
I agree. I think they're going to
for one reason or another, they don't make that pick. Whether they try to trade up and get something else, or they just get rid of it, but I don't think they make the pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the right thing for them to do. If they're really going for it now, they don't need another player who's not going to be here for another 3 years. Because I know everyone said that about like, oh, then one player's not going to save him. He's not going to be here for another 3 years. The first 2 picks are going to be there, but later in the first round, that guy's not going to be here for a bit.
Well, and the thing is too, at this point, they're running out of roster space. They have to trade some picks or do something because they're running out of room. I mean, they've got.
They can't have the entire Amerks lineup be prospects. Like it's, exactly. I'm sure that it's exciting to look at it that way, but that's just not really a good way to set up a team, especially if they do want it to be a better place for development.
You are correct. The Buffalo Sabres were 1 number off.
1 number off.
Yeah. Harrington says 15614. That was Edmonton combo 174. The Sabres closest was 172. 1512. 15612. 1 number off.
Well, I'd like to think that 1 number won't haunt us for very long.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll move on.
It's all Brian Gianta's fault.
Oh gosh, we should have been in third. We should have been in 28th. Come on, Sabres. You'll hear that.
Exactly. I've already seen it.
I'm
coming up with a witty tweet right now.
WGR will not be a good place to be on Monday. I feel bad for them.
My computer just randomly keeps zooming in and zooming out while I type, so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having some computer problems.
Yeah, whatever.
Seems like we've probably run our course on this anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me for the hour and a half. I didn't know what to expect with this thing, mostly because I didn't really know what I was doing with it tonight. Because whatever.
Yeah, it certainly was a memorable one.
We have our reactions on tape now for good. So.
Us mostly just going, oh my God, no.
I'm just gonna. I had to actually hold myself back from cursing because I didn't want to curse.
Yeah, I was just so surprised. I never even thought about them really.
That's how it always happens.
I never, and when you look at it, I mean, they always had the third best chance. They were really they were 2% off of Arizona, and they were just as in it as the Coyotes.
It again shows now. I mean, how many teams do you think? Well, the odds change. The whole thing changes after this year, anyways. But
yeah,
it's gonna be weird to see how teams play it next year for sure because everyone has.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I found the picture. I'm so excited. Well, the guy found the picture. Okay, and try not to misspell words in the tweet.
Oh gosh.
All right. Well, I guess now is a good time to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Joining me on the other side of this microphone is Jack Goods at Goods on Sports of Die by the Blade. Also, speaking of Die by the Blade, the Thirds Not Turds jersey voting is still going on. That goes on for a few more days, I believe. And the final voting will be coming up shortly. A lot of good entries, a lot of good response so far. I'm excited to see who wins it. But obviously, thanks to everybody over there, Andy, and everybody at Die by the Blade, for making that happen, because that's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad they could help me out and make it happen.
Yeah, we're moving into round 2 now, the past couple of days, and it's getting more competitive. Really, it is. I've been looking forward to that, checking it out every morning. I place my vote, so it's gotten good response.
I'm glad I was able to have help and have it get put together and just make it happen, because it's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun to see what people can come up with. Because if there's one thing I love, it's jersey concepts and it's stadium designs, like the mock stadium designs.
Yeah,
I could look at them for like, give me a coffee table book of jersey concepts or stadium designs. I'm like a little kid for hours.
Oh gosh, yeah, all the renderings. So you'll have fun with the Bills in a few years.
Exactly. Oh, I'll tell you what. I was talking to Chris Ostrander at 2ITB. I think 2ITB _ Buffalo, 2 in the box is his blog, and I think he's actually starting a podcast. Him and Husaria at Husaria, I believe is how you pronounce it. I don't know. Tom. They're starting a podcast shortly, talking about stuff like that. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm like not an architect or a contractor at all, but I could just talk about that stuff all day. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Like what could have been. Like that's like me. I go back and I look at draft stuff and like 10 years from now and be like, oh, what happened if so-and-so drafted this guy instead of that guy? Like what happened? What would have happened? Real quick, and I'll let you go. What would have happened if Pittsburgh drafted Jonathan Taves instead of Jordan Stahl?
Yeah. They'd be even better. It would be ridiculous.
See what I mean? See what I mean?
Yeah.
You're welcome, America.
Yeah. It would have been.
That's what we call falling down a black hole.
Yeah. Oh, that would be something. It's probably the 3 best centers in the league, maybe.
Well, now look at Edmonton. That's what they've got going on.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we're in for years to come.
I still think they trade somebody because they need more help, but we'll find out.
This is just first chapter and all.
Craig McTavish is a terrible general manager, so he'll probably screw it up.
Probably. I think the Sabres have a good one. So
yeah, they'll sign Anders Lind back, and they'll be like, "Oh, he was really good with Buffalo last year, so he'll be good for us."
Oh gosh, yeah, maybe.
As I said, joining me, Jack Goods at Goods on Sports. I appreciate your time, man.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I am at Wolf SHC on Twitter. Check out SabresHockeyCentral.com. This will be going up shortly. At SHC.com on Twitter. Facebook.com / Sabres Hockey Central. If you enter the contest today, thank you. We'll have a winner shortly. Don't mind the fact that I'm an idiot and put down Saturday 4/19 instead of Sunday 4/19. Whatever. But with that being said, thank you again. It sucks that McDavid's not coming to Buffalo, but I'll tell you what, a damn good hockey player in Jack Eichel, the future of American hockey, is coming to Buffalo here shortly. So get bent, Sabres fans. It's going to be a damn good time.
It's going to be a fun ride.
Thanks again, man, for joining me.
Oh, thank you. It's been a good night.
We'll have you back sometime soon, I promise.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to come on again. I appreciate it, man.
Talk to you later on.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good night.